Evolution and natural selection and aggression. Key definitions before we start. Genes are the fundamental unit of heredity that contains DNA that will be passed on to the offspring. Mutation, a change in genetic structure in an organism that makes it different from other same kinds of organisms. Evolution, change in heredity characteristics in biological populations over successive generations. Natural selection, the gradual process in which inheritable traits become more or less common to adapt to environment. Sexual selection, individuals that succeed in attracting a mate outproduce others in the population. What is evolutionary theory? The structure and function of the brain has changed over time. Successful humans were those best suited for the environment and reproduced. Psychologists at the EEA use fossils to understand and speculate what type of behaviour is adaptable, to try to determine what behaviour is genetically determined through brain structure and chemistry. However, our environment has gone through rapid change, and therefore we may not need some behaviours that may have helped us in the past. For example, aggression. Explaining aggression between males. The evolutionary approach to aggression sees aggression as an ability to increase survival chances and therefore increase reproductive success. Example of behaviours that have come about due to evolution. Deterring males from infidelity. Aggression towards the other sex so they stay as a mate. Deterring rivals from future aggression. Aggression to dominate. Negotiating status and power and hierarchies. Aggression to gain dominance, money, same-sex members to aid selection. Gaining territory, E.G. warfare. Inflicting costs on same-sex rivals. Aggression between same-sex for resources/mates. Defending against attacks. Aggression to prevent loss of resources, status, e.g. bullying to be popular in school. Aggression between females. Females should be less physically aggression. They have an evolutionary disadvantage due to their nature. Females in nature tend to be less aggressive due to having to look after children, due to having to breastfeed, due to their having a nurturing side to them, due to having to have this, due to having kids. To put themselves at risk is to having to put their family at risk. This leads to women having more verbal and emotional aggression than having physical aggression. When competing for mates, women use verbal aggression. This is shown by Buss, 1999. Women had to compete for mates and put other women down to make them seem less attractive when trying to reproduce. Jealousy. Jealousy is an emotional response to an anticipated loss of an affection or status. Males need to compete with other males to access a choosy female. Lower status men are willing to take genetic risk by using aggression or they will face extinction. Infidelity is unfaithfulness of sexual partners. There are two types: emotional infidelity, which is a form of affection or attachment to another person, like flirting, and sexual infidelity, which is any behaviour involving sexual contact. If a female is unfaithful, the male faces potential paternity uncertainty. This can lead to male risking wasting an investment on an offspring which is not their own. This can lead to jealousy, violent aggressive jealousy relating to female infidelity. However, infidelity is less harmful to females, as females can always guarantee that the offspring is their own. Females do have to compete, however, for quality of men. Therefore, women take fewer risks with violence and use indirect forms of aggression. 40% of domestic violence victims are men, 2009. However, if a man is unfaithful, females risk losing his resources, energy, protection, and commitment to the children. Strengths. Daly and Wilson, 1988. Humans' violent aggression and homicides are more common in males. Daly and Wilson, 1988. Applied to social living, deterring females from infidelity. Young wives/girlfriends are more likely to be killed than older ones. This is reliable, however outdated. This theory explains gender differences. It explains why males are more likely to be aggressive than females. There's evidence from Manson and Wang, 19 1991, who found that female chimps who were cooperative were selected via males, and male chimps who were aggressive were selected by females. However, the research do not have cause and effect, and variables were not measured nor manipulative, and you're comparing chimps to humans. The application to reproductive behaviour, we choose partners who will enhance our reproductive success. David Buss, 1989. Across 33 countries, males preferred younger, more attractive women who were easier to reproduce with, and females preferred older, healthier, and ambitious, hard-working men. As well as this, Darwin's theory of natural selection is well established and has supporting evidence towards it. Weaknesses. Nurture. Adopting and fostering. Males can care for a kid that isn't theirs. This could be due to personality. This theory does not look at how nurture may affect someone. Therefore, this is not applicable. Differences between culture and aggression. Wolfgang and Verekutai, 1961. Amongst the Krongsang people of Kalahari, aggression was discouraged from childhood, whereas in Brazil, aggression is accepted. Therefore, this study is not applicable to everyone. Researcher bias. The EEA based the theory of fossils. Therefore, this could be biased as we do not know what fossils actually tell us. However, Lande Vias found that male fossils were significantly bigger than female fossils. The size difference demonstrates that the existence of male-on-male competition. It's impossible to test that evolution actually happened, and other theories such as the psychodynamic, hormones, and brain structure can be used to counterbalance this theory.